Psychological manipulation. We won't be doing these two videos or this one from later in the timeline, although I am still proud of all three of them. The channels backing them up have either been deleted or completely rebranded, and I wasn't able to find them. Which brings us nicely onto the Young Turks. I called out the Young Turks a while ago because of their hypocrisy. You know, oh, there's some terrible people showing you memes. Let me show you the memes that these terrible people are showing you. It's rules for he but not for thee, or whatever the phrase is, possibly the other way around. So this video I've got for you today is addressing the Supreme Court case, the Tennessee hearing. It was uploaded a few weeks ago, but I thought we'd check it out.
This case is just the beginning of the fight. It is not the end. We are not going to rest until every child is protected, until trans ideology is entirely erased from the earth. That's what we're fighting for, and we will not stop until we achieve it.
Oh, look, it's Matt Walsh. We'll check on him later in the series, but for now, Jordan here is explaining that Matt is outside the Supreme Court in support of a new anti-trans bill from Tennessee. It's a few weeks old at the time that you're seeing the video, but a lot goes into the editing and that. It's a one-man team, so excuse me, I don't actually know the verdict just yet.
But outside of the court, we saw what the right's ultimate goal is: demonizing, dehumanizing, and erasing trans people. In addition to Walsh, Marjorie Taylor Greene she also spoke. Over a loud chorus of boos, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene declared that the pro-transgender position comes from Satan. What you're hearing is the outcry from the demons in those that worship evil, that are abusing our children, brainwashing our children, she said of protesters jeering at her.
Look, I don't want to get too deep into the trans debate on this video. I don't want to go deep dive into the history of this current trans agenda, the trans ideological agenda that we are currently seeing, which is different from people suffering from body dysmorphia. It's more akin to other forms of mass self-flagellation that have been documented throughout history. It's one of those sad, inescapable realities of the human condition. We are vulnerable to such things, and we just have to acknowledge that this kind of thing exists in the world and try to defend and protect ourselves from it and our friends and family from falling into these traps. You know, like many other things, like getting conned, being the victim of theft, we have to know that thieves exist in the world so that we can protect our valuables rather than just walking around with our bag unzipped with all our valuables in our bag. We know that these members of society they're out there looking perfectly innocent and trying to take advantage of us in any way, shape or form they can. We're well aware that they exist, and that is our defense from them. This current trans movement absolutely is brainwashing. And just like any other cult, it forces you to give up everything that you hold dear, just for the profit of a few people at the top. Anyway, Jordan goes on to introduce Cenk into the conversation.
Now, I do want to point out that while a favorable outcome in this case is not expected, history was made during the arguments. The ACLU's Chase Strangio became the first trans attorney to argue before the Supreme Court. Cenk, have you been following this case? What do you think of it?
Yeah. So what I think of the policy is interesting and nuanced. And what I think about it legally is interesting and nuanced.
Cenk telling you he's going to be interested and nuanced is like Beethoven telling you he's listening intently. I mean, I'm sure he'll try, right? It's not a lie from his perspective. And then he goes on to say that he's going to try not to offend people by changing the terms.
Extreme radical sound offensive. So I've decided whether other people use it or not, I'm going to use max left and max right.
It makes me laugh every single time the thought police try to ban words or terms or phrases that hurt their feelings. As if the new term won't have the exact same negative connotations. You absolute spastic.
So in this case, the ACLU lawyer you're talking about, I love that the brother set history there and is the first trans person to argue in front of the Supreme Court. That's a great day in America. Just another stepstone in equality, right?
I assume brother must be one of this person's pronouns. But my fave bit of that sentence was the steps sown. Steps sown for equality, right? Everyone knows we're always sowing steps, right? I've never seen a mixed metaphor played off so straight outside of a comedy gig.
Now, at the same time, he was on TV the other day saying 2-year-olds know if they're trans, and I'm like, that's nuts, totally nuts. 2-year-olds don't know anything. 2-year-olds often don't know their names. How do they know if they're trans and ready for hormone surgery? Are you nuts? So I don't agree with him on that at all. I don't know why he would say such an absurd thing, right?
Right. I swear it drives me crazy when he does that, man. That mental conditioning. Right. Agree with me, right? Sorry, I know on this occasion he is actually right, which is rare, but it still drives me mad. Right. But focusing on the statement for a minute. 2-year-olds know they are trans. I mean, hopefully this shows you all why this is such an important law. This is important because there are crazy people out there trying to chop the genitalia off of 2-year-olds. Look, I'm sorry, I know this upsets some of you, but it is a fact that humans cannot change their gender. You can mutilate a victim. You can leave somebody absolutely irreparable. These people have a clear mental illness. They require mental help. You've got to understand, people like Matt are fighting on behalf of the victims, even when the victims don't even realize that they're victims. Okay? Matt doesn't gain anything out of this. If Matt wanted money, if he wanted to gain something out of it, he could sit in his office and make videos all day long. This subject will never personally affect me. It will never personally affect Matt. We're standing up for the real victims, the women who are getting dominated in sports, the children that are getting absolutely mutilated, castrated. The Max right care about the future of society, which means by definition, they have to care about us. They have to care about you. They show nothing but care and compassion for the victims of this trans ideology because they understand that this is a victim that they are dealing with. Except for when that person is spreading that ideology, then they are dealing with the ideology, not the person. And this is one of those really rare occasions where Max left Cenk, Max right Matt, and little old me in the rational centre all agree you cannot chemically castrate 2-year-olds. You can't perform gender deforming care on infants. But then, Cenk says this.
Okay, now let's go to the Max right and the clip we just showed you. Far worse. Talking about what? They're not going to stop until trans ideology is entirely erased from the earth. Now, when you talk with that kind of language, what do you think that trans people are going to think? It sounds like you're trying to wipe them off the face of the earth.
Really, Cenk, it's far worse. It's far worse to say words that you will definitely use, twist and manipulate to make it sound evil and horrible. It's far worse to say something that you can take advantage of than it is to actually mutilate children's genitals. You could absolutely have used your platform to spread a true message, because there are hysterical people out there who don't listen to these things or might just hear it out of the corner of their ear or might just hear some idiot like you explaining it rather than listening to it firsthand. And you could have sat there and set the record straight and said, listen, everybody calm down. They see you as people who have a sickness and need care. They have no intention of stopping the care of people who have already gone into or are going through this process. You will need lifelong care for the rest of your lives, and we are all fully aware of that. You are individuals, you are people. What they want to wipe out is the ideology that put you in this position. They don't want other people to have to go through what you are now going through. You are a victim, and we are trying to help you. You could have said, they want to wipe out the ideology, not the people. They are fighting on behalf of the people. But instead, Cenk said the exact opposite.
Don't tell me that this is just about, hey, a disagreement about puberty blockers, because we're about to have that conversation. That's not the conversation you're having. You and Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you say it's satanic, are having a conversation about how we should all hate trans people and we should wipe them out.
I think that's evil. I think twisting the narrative like that to cause hysteria amongst actual victims that we all know are mentally deranged. They are mentally fragile. It's easy to twist the knife and say, hey, look, that guy over there, he fucking hates you. He wants to kill you. That's evil to put that into somebody's head when you know perfectly well that's not what he meant. And you know perfectly well who you are stirring up. It's funny, isn't it? Christians apparently just want to wipe you out. If they think that you're possessed by Satan, they want to wipe you out. And yet somehow exorcism is a thing. That's weird. That seems like a weird process to go through if they could just wipe you all out. Oh, you're possessed, wipe them out. Why then do they go to such literally extreme lengths? They're willing to believe in crazy crap and try absolutely anything to get evil away from somebody. If they think somebody is possessed by evil, they want to save that person. That is literally what exorcism is. Okay? You and I, we don't believe it works. Doesn't matter. The point is the mentality behind it. They're trying their best, desperately, anything in their power to save this person from evil. Not wipe them out. That's the easy way. And it's weird how Matt specified ideology. Like it's a lot of syllables that he could have just left out. What Maggie said about the position coming from Satan is basically the theist's way of saying that there is a self-interested force in the world that has encouraged weak-minded, greedy people to take advantage of fragile people, innocent, fragile people. And you've somehow taken that message and converted it into kill all the people. You simplistic, clueless moron. There's no way a fully grown adult actually can't tell the difference between a human being and an ideology.
And so if you say, oh, no, it has plausible deniability because he didn't say trans people, he said ideology. Okay, shoe on the other foot. Let's try. Oh, yeah, the left is not going to stop until Christian ideology is entirely erased from the earth. Does that sound good? You like that one?
Oh, diddums. You sound well rational right now. You don't sound spiteful or anything. I'm not a Christian, Cenk, and even I can tell you that the left have been trying to demolish Christianity, abolish Christianity, wipe it from the face of the earth for a very long time. And you know, as an anti-theist, it sounds fine to me. I know that Christianity is brainwashing just as much as I know that the trans ideology is also brainwashing. Luckily for me, I'm on the outside of both of these bubbles. I can see you're both fucking idiots. But being trans isn't supposed to be a religion. I mean, they're at least claiming And you're claiming that they don't go around trying to convert people. You see the flaw, right? It's a Christian's duty to spread and preach Christianity. Therefore, in order to wipe out Christianity, you would actually have to wipe out Christians. Trans ideology is spread by Big Pharma, the people profiting off it. Unless, of course, you're admitting that it is actually a cult that keeps trying to recruit normal people into its ranks. Are you?
Until white ideology is wiped from the earth. Does that sound good?
Cenk, what the actual fuck is white ideology supposed to be? It sounds racist to me, and apart from that, I couldn't get anything else out of it. So I got in touch with a couple of gamer friends of mine, and I asked them, the total normies. They do not spend any amount of time on the internet except for gaming. Just chilling out in the evening after a long day's work. That's it. Apart from that, they watch normal TV, normal news if they ever watch the news at all, and get on with their normal lives. So I asked them. Hey guys, so the question is, if a politician was on television, you know, with a lot of influence, some high-level politician was on TV, and they said something along the lines of, we need to abolish white ideology. How would that make you feel? What do you think it means? Right. What would be your takeaway from that statement?
What do I think that they're saying when they say that?
Yeah, more or less. Like, what do you think they're saying? How does it make you feel? Anything, however you feel. You just let me know what you think.
I just think, oh, right,
It's a
okay.
bit interpretive.
Yeah, a bit. I don't think they're going to be able to achieve that.
Well, that is kind of that is the politician's thing to do, is to say a very broad statement that's ambiguous, that different demographics will think of in different ways and talk about, and they don't even have to carry on with it. They just say it once and then we talk amongst ourselves about it.
So, like, how would you translate it? What do you think it means?
Maybe I don't even know what it means. What is it?
Well, I don't want to give you too much context because I don't want to put ideas into your mind, but do you think it's racist?
No.
No.
No, it doesn't sound racist to you. But do you want to elaborate at all? Is there anything else?
No, I don't know. Maybe it's like, yeah, I don't know. I actually couldn't tell you. I don't even know what white ideology is.
You are just saying words.
No, it doesn't sound good. It sounds terrible. Why does it sound terrible? Because you're obviously attacking that group.
False. It can only be seen as an attack by those who profit from it.
You're not even hiding anymore. Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying trans people are satanic. So, how is that not deeply, deeply hateful?
No, she absolutely didn't. And you absolutely did show the quote on the screen a few minutes ago. You blatantly twist quotes that were on the screen only moments before. And once again, the exact opposite of what you said is true. She understands perfectly well that these people need love and support. She is saying that they are not thinking clearly. She's saying that they're ill-informed. They are deceived. You, Kenky boy, are not a dumb man. You are lying.
How is that not deeply, deeply hateful? So, right wing, if you want us to have a reasonable conversation in this country, I'm not going to have conversations with the max right who are lunatics on this.
So my translation of Matt and Maggie's statements essentially boils down to this. These people are mentally ill, their supporters are ill-informed, they're all being tricked, and we will not stop until they stop mutilating children. So to me, they sound deeply loving, and you sound like a lunatic.
So now when you get to the actual substance of it, my point of view on it is, I think what the Supreme Court does is it says, does the state have enough interest to take away individual rights, right? So that's the question at hand. And where I would draw that line is, if you're talking about irreversible physical surgery, I would say that the state has enough interest in that to be able to prevent it. If you're talking about puberty blockers, I say the state does not have enough interest.
Puberty blockers is left-wing speak for chemical castration.
At what age does the medical transition begin with medication?
So medical affirmation begins when the patient says they're ready for it. And that way, puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty.
I mean, is that the way it works? Where you can take a drug to intentionally interfere with certain normal, healthy processes, and you could take, and then there's no negative consequences at all? Just stop taking the drug and pick up where you left off? If a child's taking puberty blockers to stop their normal development, and then we're just putting it on pause for, let's say, 5 years, and then they decide that, okay, I don't want to take this anymore. Well, at a minimum, now they're going to be 5 years behind in their growth and development. But actually, the consequences are a lot worse than that. One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview because it seems like it's going in a particular direction.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
Again, I'm a physician and I use medication. You're choosing exploitive words. Drugs I give to kids.
I'm choosing a
chemical
word that was
castration.
in a dictionary.
That's not a correct term for puberty blocking.
I could look it up on my phone, but I'm pretty sure if I looked it up,
You can look it up on your phone.
it says medical definition: the administration of a drug to bring about a marked reduction in the body's production of androgens and especially testosterone.
And I'm saying, as a pediatrician who takes care of hundreds of these kids, when you use that terminology, you are being malignant and harmful.
I mean, there are some who would say that giving chemical castration drugs to kids is malignant and harmful. And of course, I ask her about Lupron. Now, this is a drug that she gives to kids. And as we hear from somebody else in the film, Scott Nugent, who has experience with these kinds of drugs, personal experience, this drug in particular is a drug. It is actually, by definition, chemical castration, which is why I wasn't planning on doing this, but I pulled out my phone, look up the definition, look up the definition of chemical castration, and that is a puberty blocker. That is, by definition, when you give a kid a puberty blocker, you are performing chemical castration on the kid, period.
Because remember what the state is doing, in this case, Tennessee. They're saying not just the kids, and not just the doctors, but the parents are not allowed to decide. That big government is going to decide instead of the parents.
How naive is his audience? What fantasy world are these people living in? We all wish we lived in a world where every parent always did what was best for their children.
After I turned 14, my dad decided he wanted to be in my life, so I gave him a chance and decided to go stay with him for just the summer. And he started to get into hardcore drugs, got me to do drugs with him. He asked me if I wanted to try meth. I said no, why would you even ask me that? And he's like, just try it, it's the best feeling in the world. I didn't like it the first time, and then I got to do it more, and then I liked the feeling of it. I thought, well, if my dad's doing it, then why can't I, you know? My dad and I bonded after doing meth together. I didn't feel like a daughter to him after that. I felt more of a friend.
A world where no one ever abused the title of doctor.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
We also all wish we lived in a world where rivers of beer flowed past mountains of bacon under candy floss clouds that rained chocolate buttons onto fields of hemp. But we don't live in that world. We live in the real world. Every title is abused by some people at some point, particularly when there is a financial incentive to do so. It happens. And sadly, many children are abused by their own parents and guardians every single year, whether by accident or design, ignorance or malice.
And I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think the government should really weigh in any of these circumstances. If that's what the parents and their kids want to do, even if you're talking about some sort of operation, I don't care. It's not my business. It's not my kid, and those aren't my parents.
When she was 14 years old, Ashley called me one day and she told me that her stepfather poured some methamphetamine white powder on the phone screen and made 2 lines, and he told her to go ahead and do one.
I was very, very upset. It's heartbreaking to think that a stepdad could do that to a stepchild.
She became more or less under his thumb after that. It was his way of controlling her.
I was his little buddy, you know? And shortly after that, we were using every day.
Not my kid, why do I care?
A practitioner is being jailed for 10 years due to the death of a 71-year-old woman at one of his slapping therapy workshops, and it turns out he's also responsible for the death of a 6-year-old boy at one of those slapping therapy workshops. The 71-year-old woman had attended one of his workshops, and she was a type 1 diabetic, and she stopped taking her insulin, instead just slapping it away, and Zhao said, "Well done," congratulating her on it, and eventually she started vomiting, got tired and weak, and then was howling in pain, unable to respond, and passed away. The 6-year-old boy passed away in similar fashion, where his parents stopped giving him insulin after they attended his workshops because his workshops claimed that they would slap away the poisonous waste.
Not my kid, why do I care?
She was a loving child, had a great imagination, loved playing with her dolls.
A young girl finds herself in a hospital, battling a series of mysterious illnesses before passing away.
They saw Olivia for over 1,000 hospital visits and hospitalizations.
Now her mother is charged with murder, accused of making up medical problems.
They performed over 25 unnecessary surgical procedures.
News 5 Investigates found staff at Children's Hospital Colorado had their suspicions that Kelly Renee Turner may have been lying about her daughter's condition.
Not my kid, why do I care? Remember, these guys are the ones saying that it's the other guys that hate you, right? It's the other guys. Those guys over there are hateful, not us. We just don't give a fuck about you.
They're doing it because of the language we're seeing outside of the court, because this is part of a larger right-wing play to demonize and dehumanize. And in their minds, they think they can erase trans people, but they're not going anywhere. And we have to stand up for them.
Nobody is expecting the 0.001% of actual human beings with body dysmorphia to disappear. Nobody's trying to erase femboys or even ladyboys. Nobody cares about drag queens, except when they're manipulating children. No people are being erased. What they are fighting against is this evil ideology that profits from the chemical castration and even mutilation of infants' genitals. Children, minors, young adults, anyone of any age who is being manipulated in their most vulnerable state by the one person in the world that they put their whole trust into. You, Jordan, are not standing for anyone. You're standing aside and looking the other way.
If that's what the parents and their kids want to do, even if you're talking about some sort of operation, I don't care. It's not my business. It's not my kid, and those aren't my parents.
Not your kids. Why do you care?
This is the party for limited or small government, or so I thought. And here they are yet again. Whenever it affects a marginalized group, whenever it affects powerless people, then all of a sudden, or something they don't like abortion, then all of a sudden they want the government in your personal life because they want to create a largely white Christian nationalist society. And anyone who doesn't fit within that neat framework doesn't have rights.
Is it weird to anyone else that he seems to be boasting that he's part of the party of big government? He supports the party of big government. So everything else that he's accusing the right wing of doing, he actually supports, according to the way he phrased his statement, right? He's basically going, hey, no fair, you stole our playbook, we were meant to do that to you. Like everything else that these two have said in this episode, it's pure projection. Listen, you can never truly understand another person's motivations. All you can do is guess based on your own perceptions. Anytime we judge another person's words or actions, we are judging them based solely on our own experiences. Put simply, we're basically saying, I would only do that if I felt X. Or if I said that, I would actually mean this. Every single judgment that we make is nothing but an insight into our own view of the world. You're not reading people's minds. You're projecting your own. Good night, everybody. Love you.